For people that don't know, you're a Florida Gator baby, so I have to ask you because I this is kind of sad for me. Ricky Pearsall, that was a popular Jets third round pick. Okay, this is great. Is that dream dead? Is that dream over now after the combine?
Yeah, it's probably dead. He tested so well. He had a great week in Mobile at the Senior Bowl as well. Practiced for 2 days. It was very, very productive, very impressive in those 2 days. So much so that he did not practice on the third day, didn't play in the game, didn't feel like he needed to. Honestly, he didn't. So he comes to the combine, tests very, very well, not only in the explosive drills, but also the agility drills too. He was a high 80s, low 90th percentile athlete in basically every single spot, which you don't often see. Yeah, he's not going to be available in third round anymore. Honestly, I think about him as a target for the Carolina Panthers to start the second round at 33. Like, that's the range that I'm talking about now with him. I mean, his tape's too good. He's too great of an all-around athlete. I think he's going to end up being an early second round pick now.
Okay, that's right. That's somewhat depressing, but I appreciate the honesty, Trevor. That's good friends have to be honest with each other in these times.
True.
So third round pick. The Jets have the 72 overall pick. Is it realistic that they can get a starting wide receiver at that point? Because I've heard that conversation out in the universe. Is that true? And if it is true, who are some names? Come on, Trevor. How do you solve 72 wide receiver, a position the Jets would like to address? Who are the names that Jet fans should familiarize themselves with that could fit that category?
Yeah, so I was on the Jets digital show when I was at Radio Row, and they had me do like a sort of a mock draft, but also they wanted me to pick, okay, who's the pick at number 10? Who's the pick in the third round, and then like give like a wild card, whether it could be the fourth round pick or somebody that they might target in free agency. And the guy that I identified in the third round that I would love for them to get is Jermaine Burton from Alabama. I think Burton is really, really underrated in this class. When I watch his tape, I go, this is a second round player. Now he was at Georgia, and then he was at Alabama, and he plays very fiery. He plays with a lot of emotion. And I kind of love that about him. But some people have said, yeah, he loses his temper a little bit too easily. So maybe it's an attitude thing that teams are a little bit scared of. But to me, that just shows like a fiery, competitive player. And instead, you've got a guy who's lightning quick off the line of scrimmage, loves to go attack the ball vertically, but he's got the quickness, stop and start ability to be really effective in the slot as well. So Jermaine Burton from Alabama is somebody I like, who I think could be an option for them there at, what is it, 72? I think 72 is where
That's correct.
They pick in the third round. So I think he's an option there. Jamari Thrash, I think, could also be an option. More of a deep threat from Louisville, who, showed that he could be more than just a deep threat player, but I think that's probably how you get him on the field early. Maybe I like Johnny Wilson from Florida State a lot. 6'6", almost 6'7", 240 pounds, runs really well, has good agility for a guy that is his size. He's just got to catch the football. Like, he's just got to, if he had stronger hands, if he had the hand strength of a player that you thought that you saw was 6'6", I mean, this guy would be a borderline, early second round pick, maybe even considered at the back end of the first round, but he just doesn't. He's got too many concentration drops. He's got too much, catch point issues, which sucks for a player who's that big, but I like him. I think he's intriguing there. Two other players that I'll shout out.
Sure. Yeah.
I wonder if Brenden Rice gets there. Jerry Rice's son. He's an interesting player because I think he's athletic. He just doesn't separate really well with that athleticism. I think you saw that in Mobile. Like, I thought he was going to be a better route runner and a better separator than he was at the Senior Bowl, but then he ended up being a much better contested catch player than I thought he was going to be. So super determined. Obviously, he's got the NFL Hall of Fame bloodlines to him. So he's somebody that I would shout out as another option. And then Malachi Corley is, I think, the big wild card in this class. You talk to some people, the Western Kentucky wide receiver, former cornerback, former running back, now wide receiver. He's played wide receiver full-time for the last couple of years. When the ball gets in his hand, they use him in a lot of yards after catch situations, and he turns into a running back the second he catches the ball, and you love that. He got great contact balance, really good vision, can make people miss in the open field. When it comes to the nuances of playing wide receiver, he's still learning it. He's still learning different kinds of releases, how to get off press coverage, how to sell things with his body when it comes to his routes and creating that little subtle separation. He's still learning a lot of that stuff, but there's some people who watch Malachi Corley and say, this is the next Deebo Samuel. I'm not quite there, because for every Deebo Samuel, there's maybe a Laviska Shenault that people thought was kind of the same player that didn't really pan out as well with that running back wide receiver versatility. But he is somebody who, if he is there, as an athlete, he's really intriguing as a yards after catch guy, a guy you can scheme up some touches for. So those are a handful of receivers that when I think about the third round could be available for the Jets to go grab.